A grand jury votes to indict former President Donald Trump. The indictment is in connection to his alleged role in a hush money payment scheme. And this marks the first time in U.S. history that a president, current or former, faces criminal charges. Hello and welcome to Capra Review. I'm Thasmeen Mahfouz, and the exact charges are still not clear. We'll likely learn more in the coming days. And here to talk more about it is Mychael Schnell with our media partners at The Hill. Michael, thank you so much for joining us. So this indictment will mark the first time in U.S. history that a former president faces criminal charges. How monumental is this?
Extremely monumental. This is a moment in history that will be remembered for a long time. As you mentioned, the first time that a former president is criminally charged in an investigation. And now this is sort of caps off some days of speculation after former President Trump earlier a few weeks back had said that he would be indicted on a specific Tuesday. Now that Tuesday came and went. In fact, that week came and went with no charges from the Manhattan District Attorney. But then just this week on Friday, news broke that the grand jury had voted to indict the former president. As you mentioned, the indictment remains under seal, so we don't yet know what he has been charged with specifically. We do know it relates back to the Stormy Daniels hush money investigation. So that all goes to say there's a lot to still be learned as in the coming days as his arraignment comes on Tuesday. We see the charges that he is specifically facing. But nonetheless, just even where we are right now, a very significant and very monumental development.
And what's the response that you're hearing from both Democrats and Republicans? Because it sounds like Republicans are split and Democrats are being cautious.
Yeah, so there's a lot of different reactions that we're seeing. And again, of course, it's still early. We'll still have to see as more information comes out how lawmakers take that. But a number of Republicans, particularly those who are close allies of the former president, are calling this a politically motivated prosecution, labeling it as a witch hunt, and really zeroing in on Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg, who is a Democrat, arguing that he is a political figure and was going after former President Trump. Some Republicans, though, are taking a more measured approach, a more subdued approach. Congressman Don Bacon, he's a Republican from Nebraska. He's known to be more of a moderate figure. He said, former President Trump will go through the legal system and then we'll be able to determine whether or not this was a political prosecution. On the Democratic side, a number of lawmakers are saying, nobody is above the law. Some were celebrating this. Congresswoman Maxine Waters said, finally, Trump has been indicted. I knew Stormy Daniels would be the one to take him down. But a number of other Democrats are saying, I don't actually have to comment on this until the charges are known. So broadly speaking, there have been a lot of reactions coming from lawmakers on both the left and the right. But generally speaking, close allies of the former president are going out and defending him, calling this a politicized investigation. Democrats are saying no one's above the law. Some are saying, let's wait to see what's actually going on here.
And between the two, does this hurt Trump's chances or rally up support for him and his run for president? Because he said before that an indictment won't stop him.
Yeah, I mean, that's the million-dollar question here, right? We're talking about not only a former president who is being indicted on criminal charges, but a current presidential candidate. Trump has already announced his candidacy for 2024. Whether or not this will help him or not, I think we'll have to see how this plays out in the days and weeks to come. Though I will note that a number of his either current challengers or potential challengers have put out statements going after Bragg, calling this a politically motivated prosecution. So that could kind of give you a sense that some of his opponents are sort of rallying around Trump because, again, that's what the Republican base is looking for. Republican voters see this as a politicized prosecution. So some of his current challengers and potential challengers are coming to his defense in that way. But also the other side of the coin here is that Trump, since he entered on the political stage back in 2015, announcing his candidacy, he has described himself and characterized himself as this candidate who is taking on the political establishment, somebody who has always had people coming after him. He's always had to be on the defense. Of course, an indictment of the former president plays into that narrative. So we could very well see the former president use this to his advantage. But then again, on the other side of things, it is an indictment that is not a great thing to be charged criminally with something. And there are a number of other candidates who are likely going to be throwing their hat in the ring for 2024, some of whom, Ron DeSantis, have very similar views to the former president. So again, it remains to be seen how this will affect the race, but there are a lot of different possibilities here.
All right, Mychael Schnell with The Hill. Thank you so much for your insight and for your time. Really appreciate it.